Okay, everyone. Hi, everyone. This is Professional High Priestess. I hope everyone is well. This is just going to be a very quick session because I'm doing sessions back to back and I'm doing a whole lot of stuff. I did want to say that I have to put this out. My guides told me to put this out as well as the Galactic family about Roe v. Wade and illegal reproduction. So some of you guys need to know about a lot of this stuff, and a lot of people are coming to me because a lot of people are finding out about their Akashic records being tampered with, or how they're pulled into illegal reproduction by their partner, or how the karmic is pulling their mate or their masculine into illegal reproduction and whatnot. And so I need to come out here and talk about it. But I did want to say that I do have print copies available of all my books. So the COVID-19 detox guide, because you will know that there's like a new strain of COVID. This is really going to help. I've updated it, put a lot of information in there. I also have this frameworks for addressing witchcraft and spiritual violence in law and policy. A lot of people are taking this and attaching the book and screenshots and photos to their police reports and things like that to talk about some of the things that are happening in their life. There's a lot of information on this in this book, and then also the use of tarot in law, which has a lot of great information. I love this book. I wrote it. I even put in for people who want to start offering those type of services where you're doing tarot readings for people who are building cases and gathering evidence, like how to go ahead and put like all your information together. There's a really, really good book that has a lot of good information. So I really like encourage you to kind of go in and take a look into this book. One of the things too, like statistical analysis, like how to structure your charts and things like that. Put a lot of information into this. I have some of the other books that you guys have been waiting for, like the tarot guides. They're all up online as well too. And I am offering services again too. So if you guys need your readings, please come, because I'm going to be going on vacation in a week or so. And I know people want to get their sessions in beforehand. Now, one of the things too that I wanted to say is talk about with this illegal reproduction is some of the things that are happening with the spiritual warfare. I told you guys, because a lot of the witchcraft that was being done, a lot of rituals were being done all at once. A lot of love spells were being done all at once on the real mates. A lot of death rituals were being done. It called forth a force upon this planet that activated the ancestors and all the hyperdimensional races and species to come down and like rectify them completely once and for all. And what's happening now is a lot of people are dying. They're going to jail. They're getting sick. There's a lot happening. And what's happening is because a lot of these alien forces, they use something called cloning, which is a biotechnology wherein you upload your image and your photo as well as your DNA up into a computer program, and it prints out a physical body. And they do this using the technology that they call CRISPR, CRISPR. And there's been a lot of ethical concerns about CRISPR because of how they've been using that technology to edit DNA and genes. Go look this up. It's very real. You guys already seen in the news, oh, we brought a ferret back from extinction. They've been printing all these different animals. Most of the cows and pigs that you guys eat in the meat industry, they're all clones and 3D printed, because a lot of the cows got mad cow disease because they were eating each other. They were grinding up the cows that they could not sell because they were rotted and feeding them back to the chicken and the cows and the pork and things like that. There's a lot of laws being passed right now too. You guys didn't see that. We did a lot of advocacy work and we told them to stop importing meat, and they stopped importing meat. There was something that happened in Atlanta where somebody parked a big old meat truck by Popeyes over on Ponce de Leon, which is a major road. And they were selling like big boxes of steak and stuff like that for like $30. And now there's like a big old salmonella and illness outbreak in Atlanta. And they're tracing it back to like the meat industry, right? Meat that was illegally imported and brought here on private planes and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on with the meat industry. So what's happening now is because a lot of these aliens have been using that cloning and doing different things with the pharmaceutical industry as well as the food industry. A lot of people have woken up to the game, but they're not able to clone as much as they wanted to anymore because the machines have broken. They're getting banned from the planet. The companies are getting shut down and raided and whatnot. So now what they're doing is forcing this illegal reproduction, which I have a whole episode on Patreon that we did. It's really deep and really in depth. It's stuff that you've never heard before. We read hieroglyphs from the Mayan tradition, from the Kemetic tradition, from the Tibetan Buddhist tradition about like how serious this stuff is with the Mayan, with the illegal reproduction. And you guys need to be like, this is going to be the next war. You know, they talk about World War I, II, and III. We already fought World War III, and it was spiritual. And it was what was happening with Stephanie, the tarot readers, and all the other practitioners that got caught up for using black magic and starting shit. And they think that it's a movie, that they're like these evil villains, like going across the galaxy and working with white aliens and working with politicians and starting wars, because they started that war in Russia, which is in this book. which is why she went to jail in Toronto, and which is why Russia put out sanctions. If you want to know all about that, it's in this book, right? It goes very deep in terms of the war magic that they were using and the sorcery and a whole bunch of stuff. So that was World War III. We fought that in the spiritual realm. World War IV is happening now, where all the hyperdimensional races and ancestors are getting together and identifying every single fucking karmic from every planet, from every universe who's been starting shit, playing with magic and playing in all the different Akashic records, which is there's a new one that they just created right now that our Father Tahuti is sealing. There's been a lot of information that I've been putting out about this too. And be careful because there's a lot of quacks coming out. All of a sudden, I can speak hyperdimensional language and write spells. I can change your birth chart. I can do this. I can do that. Be careful with a lot of quacks. There's a lot of people that have been trying to stalk me, harass me, even move into my apartment building, surveillance me illegally, all kinds of stuff so that they can go ahead and take this work. And you have to be ordained. You have to be a high priest, high priestess. So when you go through your spiritual warfare battle, which a lot of you guys have, you get to use these gifts and access to these tools and access to this work. But I'm going to read a hieroglyph out from the Mayan tradition. And next month, which is upcoming July, we're going to be doing all the different calendars from the different indigenous cultures and really identifying how demons manifest themselves through those different calendars and astrological systems. So it's going to be very interesting. So let's look into this. So Roe v. Wade. You guys do not know that this Roe v. Wade stuff, where basically they stopped, you're no longer able to get an abortion. So that means Planned Parenthood is getting defunded, et cetera. What? Some people didn't even know that, right? That's the law. That when you're like Roe v. Wade, what is that? That means that no, you can't get abortions anymore. Right. And it started with that fuckery in Texas. But the funny thing is, this is their big plot and plan. If some of you guys read Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, she talks about this, a whole bunch of kids being left alone, unaccompanied, people having color children, they can't get rid of them, illegal reproduction. That's what they're trying to enforce. Because what they're also doing is by the diet that you eat, what you go on social media, what you put into your skin as body products and on your hair, they can activate hypersexuality. So you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of 12, 13, and 14, and 15-year-olds pop out with babies, a bunch of karmics on OnlyFans pop out with kids to get welfare because OnlyFans is like stopping a lot of the sex work, right? So what's happening is, they're like, okay, out in space, the different demonic forces that want to keep this going and don't want the high priest and high priestess to come together and want the fuckery to keep on going. It's like, we have to amplify the illegal reproduction. Because when you have illegal reproduction, that individual, because they're not supposed to be here, their chart can be amplified and used for demonic purposes. That's why you see a lot of the karmics, they're all illegals. And we talk about this. And that's why they're always trying to shut my channel down, because I've been going in and exposing everybody. So what ended up happening with this illegal reproduction is they're like, okay, people can't get abortions anymore. Think about this with these Republicans and stuff like that. Why do they want more pickaninnies? Why do they want more black and brown children? They don't, right? Unless they were using us for organ harvesting, which is coming out, which because they're hella sick and getting hit up with real ancient magic from Kemet, right? Unless, and other societies and races, unless they can no longer clone, and unless they are looking for bodies to be able to enter into so that they can survive long term. So think about that, right? So now this thing that we're talking about with this illegal reproduction, I have to read one of the hieroglyphs out to show you guys just how far this is going to go, and you need to be very careful. And a lot of you guys need to be careful about who you think is your twin, who you think is your mate, and having kids right now, because you may end up putting yourself in a situation where you're actually bringing down a demon. And that's why a lot of the times now what they're going to start doing is, because they have a lot of our DNA in the healthcare system, through previous abortions, through getting your blood drawn, through getting your mouth swabbed, through even going into different projects and hoods and cataloging everyone's waste and feces and taking their DNA that way, because you can find your DNA, of course, in your bodily fluids, right, and your waste. Now we have a database of people. Okay, we're going to start putting this technology on her. We have her phone tapped. We can put the technology in her phone, and it can just go into her energy fields to start tracking your energy, tracking your energy, gathering your data and everything. Some of you guys don't know this, that if when you go on social media and post your photo, the technology that they're using, which is from aliens from space, can actually like scan your face, scan your energy, and actually catalog your data, which is one of the reasons why Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook got caught the fuck up, because that's a whole database of information and data and DNA. And that's against a lot of different scientific laws, health laws, CMS laws, et cetera, because they were also caught like amplifying a bunch of mental illnesses and things like that. That's why California is putting out a law against the tech companies. If you make children addicted to social media, you can go to jail and get your company sued because of what they were doing and how they were using YouTube and some of those videos. You guys remember that when they were putting out all these videos on YouTube and the parents were complaining, what is this that you're doing to the kids? And they're glued to the screen and they're putting different chips and screens and iPhones and tablets and iPads and MacBooks so that kids will be constantly fucking addicted. That's why they passed that law in California. They just passed that law because they're using technology as a form of sorcery. So now this here comes this illegal reproduction where they're going to be trying everything and going every which way to try to tag you and identify you and catalog you and start shit with you. And it's very ridiculous. So let me go ahead and read out this hieroglyph so you guys can see what's going to be happening and why you need to be very, very careful. All right. So basically, in the Mayan tradition, you have, I would say, like, it wouldn't even be really considered Mayan because there's like the Mayan Aztec traditions. They weren't separated. They had one king and queen over them, and that's Huicuacatlacatl, which is the sun god, and his mate. Her name is Incracatuaclacatl, which is basically the high priest and high priestess of the sun and sun goodness and sun blessings, right? And as well as reproduction. This is the demon. This guy went into heavy black magic, sacrificing high priestesses and women and stuff like that. One of his sacrifices was not Ixchel, who was around and has been hijacked and turned into a demon. And the real Ixchel is around. That's not her real name. You know, Ixchel, which is basically they say that she's over the rabbits and she's all about reproduction and fertility. No, that's a karmic that was also involved in illegal reproduction, which is basically putting magic on masculines and feminines and having them go mate with karmics to create illegal reproduction and drain their DNA of spiritual power so that they can manipulate those bodies and enter into them and use that magic for themselves because they were blocked off from that gift because of what they were doing. He went into very deep magic and ritual, sacrificing the original Ixchel, creating that other Ixchel through soul fractioning. Because if you know the tradition of Ixchel, there's a young Ixchel and there's an old Ixchel. The old Ixchel is the hag, right? She's the one that cannot be trusted. The young Ixchel is the one that's okay. So his name is Ingrakatuaglakudwa, meaning that I am the demon that has gone into various forms of black magic and ritual that not only destroyed me, but destroyed who I thought I was and destroyed everything that I will touch into the future. So he says, I have multiple faces. I have one face that looks like your mate, that's a masculine. I have another face that looks like your mate, that's a feminine. I have one face that looks like your child. And I have another face that's the demon that I became. What will happen is when you are going into the garden, AKA like using any type of substance like cannabis or alcohol or whatever, when you go into the garden or when you are mating with your mate, I would download a demon seed. That demon seed will then attach to your DNA and rip out all your spiritual jewels and gifts and bring them to me in the form of a child that will ruin your life, or in the form of a mate that will ruin your life, or in the form of circumstances that will ruin your life, right? So this is the demon that's really running a lot of this right now. There's a few of them throughout traditions, and go ahead on Patreon and go watch that episode because it's very good. But I had to read this out to you because there's the demon that a lot of people are going to be downloading with this illegal reproduction. That's why they cancel that Roe v. Wade. Think about this. You really have to think about white people that are running this government. Why the fuck do they want us having more kids if they're talking about reducing public housing and da 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 da? So that means they're waging warfare on us then. Because if you want more kids, that means that you need to increase the budget. Okay, but you're reducing the budget and increasing the budget for NASA and Department of Defense, which is where a lot of these aliens play and pay the government to experiment on us and test on us so they can find out who the real high priests and high priestess are and play with our fucking bloodline and stuff like that. That translates into space in terms of like wars and shit like that. Okay, so what does that mean? They are downloading specific demons. This is one of them. There's at least 8 type of demons that are over illegal reproduction. So a lot of these karmics that your masculine is having a baby with and stuff like that, the funny thing is they have checks and balances put in place, right? In every culture, every king and queen, like you just heard me talk about King Huey, right? And his mate. There's another hieroglyph of her, King Huey and Queen Grakagwai. That's what they call her, Queen Ingrakagwai, right? So one of the things that you guys have to realize is that there's checks and balances put forward. Whenever this demon is set forth to create nonsense and chaos, there's also another system that comes forward. It's just like that. And a lot of these federations casted that magic on all their systems, all their bloodlines, all their DNAs from the original ones. Right? They have those spells on themselves that cannot be broken by anybody because it was casted by God as they were being created. So as these demons are coming in, or as these karmics are coming to reproduce and start shit with you, because it's women being attacked and men being attacked, trust me, that what's happening is any child that will be created, their blood will be separated from the divine one. And some of you guys are starting to see this now with karmics that force your masculine into a situation and the masculine wants something to do with that child. And the karmic is like stuck in poverty or other fucked up nonsense or mental illness or depression or chaos or sad. Or a masculine try to force a baby on you and you maybe kept the child, but you don't even talk to him. You run away and that child has like none of their attributes and they can't claim that child or nothing. And a lot of these masculines are like coming out of the woodwork when your child is like grown and stuff like that, using magic on you and stuff like that to like get back in your good graces because your child is like a star and is somebody and nothing like them. Because the ancestors are, when that happens, they separate the blood. If you don't know if you had magic done or you manipulated, they separate the bloodline. And then you can also have that done as well. If you realize afterwards, like, hey, I don't want this person's like blood attached to my child. I want my blood I want their blood separated, which basically means that my child does not get all the karma that gets logged into their Akashic record and then translated down into the DNA in the form of like illness, stagnation, poverty, etc. So that's what's happening as well now too. So you're going to see a lot of chaos and warfare happening with this illegal reproduction. Even the child rejecting the karmic parent. Why did you have me? You ruined my life. Or they used to be hand in hand, best friends, right? Bonnie and Clyde fuckery, or this type of nonsense where the mother is like trying to like thinks that she's the husband, the wife of the son, which a lot of the times in space is because they are mates and they're like, hey, we're gonna come down here together. Oh fuck, how did I end up your mom? It's okay, we can still be in a relationship. That's how a lot of that fuckery happens. Or because they're in that frequency in mind, you're going to start to see a lot of this like blow up. You're going to start to see a lot of families separate once and for all. Your son is like this because of you. Your daughter's like this because of you. I'm like this because of you. You're going to start to see a lot of that fighting and nonsense as this illegal reproduction finally gets like rectified once and for all, because they went very high up into the Akashic records to tamper, even trying to create new Akashic records, even trying to destroy old Akashic records, right? Just to make this happen. And this is why you guys heard about the story of Neferkapata that we talked about. He got put into that duat, not because he was playing with forbidden knowledge. No, that's not the story. And I had to come out here and set the record straight because I talked about that story like this is why you don't play with certain things. And they were hearing me when they were in the duat. They are out now. Imagine that, right? That's just like, if like one of our freedom fighters gets put in jail or something like that, and then they get released, and like it's on and popping, which is happening right now as well on the planet physically, right? So what happened is they put Neferkapata there through magic and manipulation and all kinds of fuckery because he was the one that was like, you're not having any illegal reproduction. It was absolutely illegal in Kemet, and I talk about that too in that video. So there's a lot that has went in into allowing this to go on. There's a lot that's going to go in into cleaning them off this planet. You're going to see a lot of people straight die. It's unfortunate, kids, parents, etc. As we speak, they're building new jails to deal with these illegals, and they're expanding the foster care system and even moving into different places, which we're not even going to talk about right now because the feds is watching. So anyways, you guys, that's all I really got to say. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this like quick channeled message. There will be more that comes out. I do have to put out some messages here as well. Yeah, and I do have to talk about something that has happened in terms of like them also trying to clone the original ones that were High Priest and High Priestess and store them in our DNA because they know we're very powerful. They disrupted the grave of Pop Smoke, or Maya Esgadam, aka Nipsey and Aaliyah. They went and like opened up their tombs and their graves to try to play with their DNA, you guys. There's a war right now over that nonsense. A war. Somebody already got shot in LA for playing that fucking game. It's a war right now. So just know that there's a lot of people that they're disrupting their grave, even Malcolm X, because they know that they're hyperdimensional and high vibrational. Sometimes when you die, you don't just like go to like, oh, heaven. I mean, you can do that too, right? We're already there for those who like know if you can ride that wave. But a lot of the times you go into your other body and you just like continue life on. So they're actually in a different place, like fighting wars or in their hyperdimensional with their ancestors or from in their indigenous like tribe or culture or hyperdimensional tribal culture, because there's a little bit of a difference, right? And they're just working there. They just don't have their physical bodies. So because they know what they're doing out there, they're causing problems down here. Some of you guys don't know that they know who you are in this physical body, but up in space, you're like somebody major and they're attacking you, stalking you, and harassing you on planet Earth because of who you are. Be careful, because that's what happened to me, right? Because they didn't know who, I knew who I was on several levels, but they didn't. One of my higher selves, which is Imhotep from ancient Kemet, her mate is Imhotep, which is my mate's higher self. They didn't know what her face looked like, so they were attacking me, causing problems and shit like that. They didn't know who she was, that she was already actually like here walking around, like people actually know her, like from the medical system and stuff like that, because that's what they were over. And they were like acting crazy, attacking me. And then she was like, do you remember me? She was like, I'm 35 million years old. Oh shit, yeah, because some of you guys, you look like your higher self. It's very interesting stuff. We'll get into that later. So let's go ahead and look into this. What messages do you have, please, for the collective regarding illegal reproduction? Because people that are funding this and supporting this, they made deals with the administration. How is it that we have a black female, supposedly black, because she bleaches her skin, she doesn't even align with the black community. How do we have these two Democratic people in office, and this is what they're doing? This is very, very like extreme. If you can think about it, they're taking us back to like the 1960s and 70s, where people are gonna have to start using hangers and shit like that, and taking all kinds of crazy chemicals, which the pharmaceutical industry is already like gearing up, like, oh, a new market, right? Yes, I do spells that can actually stop you from getting pregnant. And that's why you have right here Virgo energy, right? The goddess. And you can see she's like naked with her hips out, right? The desecration of the feminine, and also the true high priest, high priestess, because Virgo was the original planet of the goddess and the high priestess, right? That's connected to the earth-based kingdom and more. Right. So let's see what messages you have for the collective, for the people that are funding this, because it's going to backfire. Trust me. They're not going to get what they want. What messages do you have, please? For the collective regarding this spiritual warfare and Roe v. Wade. We're looking for more bodies. And you guys are going to hear a lot of what I'm talking about on other channels. Just know that they're a part of the opposition. They're a part of the people that are causing the problem. Just know that. Messages do you have for the collective? Okay, we got Neptune that wanted to come out before. Yeah. No, this is the illusion that they're trying to run right here. Also the dream machine. And that what I talked about going into the garden, that's Neptunian energy, technology that they're using Neptunian to get you to do certain things and manipulate your consciousness. Neptunian right there, right? Almost just you have, the funny thing is you see the seahorse right here. In the seahorse tradition, the men carry the babies, which is something that they're doing right now too. And the men carry the babies. This is going to fall back on the masculine energy in a very vicious and harsh way. Watch, because they're going to end up trying to create something to sterilize a bunch of men. Watch. And take away their penises. Watch. You're gonna see some like really ratchet shit. Oh, I could take this and I won't get her pregnant, and then my dick falls off. Watch. What messages you have, please? You got Mercury, you got the planet of communication, also technology, and you got Pluto, very explosive and chaotic and demonic. Right, very transformative. You got the skull here. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna see a lot of people die and be removed, these illegals. And then you got Mercury, like Mercury here, Gemini, Virgo energy. That Virgo energy came out again. But Mercury too is like the planet of intellect. They're downloading a lot of people who have like distorted consciousness, right? Their consciousness is all twisted up like these like serpents right here. And the funny thing is like what's happening right now is like these individuals are going into these different planets, into these different Akasha, into these different systems, and they're trying to like manipulate them with technology and stuff like that. So like, oh no, they're not illegal. No, they're supposed to be here because that's getting blocked and banned. You're gonna even see a lot of people just have straight miscarriages because there's an Akashic record that's ran by there's different ibises, because you know Tahuti is an ibis, which is a certain type of bird. There's a red ibis, there's a pink ibis, there's a purple ibis, there's a white ibis, there's a black ibis. There's the white ibis is over mothering and having children and things like that, and birthing, right? How many children you're supposed to have with your mate, if they're going to be a boy and a girl, how many children they're supposed to have. There's going to be certain spells cast and certain systems put in place where if you are a karmic and you've been identified as a karmic, because they can tag your DNA, what's going to end up happening is, because they play with certain magic and system that's completely like marking them right now because the systems are reversing. What's going to happen is we're going to completely shut down your Akasha for whole federations and whole planets and whole races. You can't even reproduce. That's how we're going to handle that. Like I said, as they're creating the problem, the solution is being created as well. So you guys, that's all I really had to say. There's a lot going on. I was just happy to just put out the message as like one of the high priestesses that's helping to fight this war. Thank you guys so much for watching.